Well, here I am at Ibrox, the home of Rangers Football Club. Marcus Rashford was recently criticised on X or Twitter, whichever you want to call it, and he'd been given £350,000 a week in wages by Manchester United, and shortly after he got £350,000 a week in wages for Manchester United, many of the fans made comments on his performance on the football field, and they didn't think he was putting his heart and soul into the club. And he's since gone on loan, I believe, to Aston Villa Football Club. But his response to the comments, the negative comments he was receiving about his performance, was that the people must have been racist. And we seem to have this card played, this race card played, and too often where people say, "Oh, you're being racist." I've been criticised, or should I say, I've been a critic, easy for me to say, of Aroosh Shah, the council leader at Oldham Council. Now, the only reason I'm criticising because of a performance at Oldham Council. We've lost over £100 million in reserves. We have blown £250 million that the government kindly gave us. Another £137 million been blown. Recently had £20 million that we've given, which is over £400 million, and that's been there's been no audit about it. There's also scandal after scandal that's being looked upon by social media. You're looking at the selling off of assets for, say, £50,000, and then later find out that it's been sold on once again for 1.7 million. And we've also got a centre that was bought by the person who bought the land, and we've ended up with an ex-mayor living in plot 1 on that land. Now, when you point these things out and say, look, you know, these things need looking into, we need to have a look at the affairs really of our council, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "Oh, you're racist." Well, how can money be racist when you're making points of racism? And people seem to sort of use this racist card basically to shut down any and all debate. You know, that card can't, you know, it's no longer accepted. It's not relevant. You know, you're going off topic. People can say, "Oh, you're racist," and provide zero evidence of that you're racist. And again, depends how you define racism. If I was to turn around to any of my friends, my family, my colleagues, the friends within Reform UK, and I said to them, "You know, here's a machete, here's a knife, you know, just go out and attack that person purely on the grounds that the race, creed, colour, ethnicity or sexuality, sexual orientation," they look at me, I know what my friends are like, they think I've gone mad. You know, there's no way they'd do it. And that's how I define racism, where you would do something of grave damage to somebody based purely on the colour of the skin or ethnicity or the religious beliefs. But we see Christian genocide taking place all over the world. Mainstream media barely ever mention it. It certainly doesn't hit the headline news when it occurs. You know, you see I know that we've got paedophiles in the white community, where, as an example, you've got Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris, Cyril Smith. They've all been outed really for being, you know, tremendously terrible people who've done evil doings. So there are people of white background who are paedophiles, and I'm very quick to point them out, and I'd like to see them face the full punishment of the law. I mean, if I could have my way, I'd lock them up for a hell of a lot longer than they are locked up. But one thing I've not seen, not heard of, is a bunch of Christian grooming gangs that go and kidnap a Muslim girl and fill her full of heroin and traffic her out, and then ring up the Christian mates who also rape her and pimp her out and destroy her life. I've not heard one report of that, but I have heard reports of white people being attacked. I'm up here in Scotland at the moment. There's a young lad got attacked in Dundee, 15-year-old lad. he was tortured, he was stabbed, he was set on fire by 4 men purely on the grounds he were white. And it seems to always get hushed up. There's also stuff that's published on TV. I watched a film recently that really disturbed me, and it was a film that starred Ralph Fiennes, and in that film it kind of depicted all the cardinals from all over the world that were met in the Sistine Chapel to pick the new pope as somehow evil and not of good standing. I think Christian beliefs and Christian values are great to aspire to in the way of life. I mean, we don't always reach there, but they really are good morals, ethics, integrity, honesty, love thy neighbour. They're all great things to aspire to. And yet the criticism of Christians is fair game. I mean, it ended up with the end of that particular film was the Pope that were voted in was indeed a transvestite, and decided that they were going to be called Pope Innocent, and I nearly vomited the fact that I found it so pathetically woke in a film, but unfortunately that's the society we live in. But going back to people saying, you've got racist comments or racist views without defining what it is. I mean, I kind of take people as they come. I always have. I've got a great mixture of personal friends and family and neighbours and people I like to spend my time with, and I don't judge people on the race, creed, colour, ethnicity, and the sexual orientation, etc. I judge them on the type of person that they are, and if they're a nice person, I generally get on with them very well. If they're an evil person, I don't really care what the background is. I'll call them out for what they are. And so anybody who sort of gives you a label that you're not, pull them up on it and just say, look, you're talking absolute nonsense. Provide some evidence, because issuing the race card like Marcus Rashford did to some of the fans at Manchester United Football Club, I think it was just a misplaced insult, because those fans, they weren't being racist at all. Certainly the comments that I had read, they were commenting on the lack of effort that Marcus Rashford seemed to have, and the lack of love he had for the Manchester United Football Club, and that's what the fans were criticising him for. But again, he just tried to shut it down by playing the race card, saying, "Oh, they must be racist." And similar in politics, it happens where you make a point about somebody who's not really performed very well on the behalf of the people and on behalf of the council, and instead of talking about the topic of which you're bringing up, instead of sort of engaging on auditing the accounts, or saying we need to investigate the mass grooming of predominantly white girls by Pakistani men, they instead just default and say, "Oh, no, you're racist." Well, it's not racism to call out things that people are concerned about. As I say, racism is when you go and do something to somebody for no reason whatsoever other than for the colour of the skin. And that seems to be happening a lot to white people right now, doesn't it? Because how many jobs now are white people not allowed to apply for? It's for ethnic minorities only. And again, who are the racists here? Because that to me is just blatant racism. The person doing a job should be chosen on merit and whether they're capable of doing that job or not. So I think we've got a lack of common sense really in politics right now, and fortunately Reform UK will bring common sense back to politics. It's been missing for a long time. So please get on board, carry on supporting us, and let's stamp out this nonsense that's occurring at the moment. As always, stay safe, have a lovely weekend, and God bless.